Hey guys, and today we're going to talk about the lunar cycle. So, lunar cycle is also known as moon phases, and there's 8 major phases. We all know one is the full moon. Um, so we're going to be talking about the other 8 phases today. So, just as the Earth revolves and rotates around the sun, the moon also revolves and rotates around the Earth. Now, we all know that it takes 24 and a half hours for the Earth to rotate, and about 365 days and a quarter, to be exact, for the Earth to revolve around the sun. Well, the moon rotates and revolves at the exact same rate. It's about 30 days or so. And that revolution of the moon around the Earth is what causes our phases. So you can see here, I'll have to reset, but as the moon revolves around the Earth, the sun casts a different shadow on it every night. So we're going to talk about those. There's 8 major phases. Okay. It takes the moon about 27.3 days to revolve around the Earth. So that's what it says. About 30 days, about 1 month. The lunar cycle, from new moon back to new moon, which we'll talk about new moon in a second, is about 39.5 days. And now these days are Earth days. The phases of the moon are a reflection of the sun's light bounced off the moon's surface, so the moon doesn't have any light source. It doesn't project any light onto us. It's actually a reflection from the sun. The moon appears to change shape because only certain portions of it illuminated are seen based off its position around the Earth. So, our moon phases. There are 8 major phases like I talked about. The same moon phase is seen by everyone on Earth each night. So, no matter where you are on Earth, you're going to see the same moon phase. People in northern hemisphere and southern hemispheres do not see opposite moon phases. A lot of us think that because we have opposite seasons, that we see opposite moon phases. That is not true. We all see the same moon phase. The first half of the lunar cycle, the light is reflected off the moon's surface and appears to increase. So you're going to go from new moon, which has no light, all the way to full moon, where the entire moon is illuminated, and then everything's going to come back. So the second half of the lunar cycle, that's where the light is reflected off the moon's surface, appears to decrease. So it appears to go away. Now, one major thing is that if you look here, the inside here, so this is just for viewing it from above. Half of the moon is always going to be illuminated, no matter where it is. The difference is what we see. So if you look here, if we start here for a new moon, and we're looking at the moon, if you see this little bracket here, this is what we see. And the sun's over this way, so that the sun's reflecting all on the other side of the moon, so we see nothing. Then it's going to rotate the next night to what we see, a waxing crescent. Now, here's our view from the Earth. We see this bracket, so we only see this little sliver on the right side, and that's why we see here. And then we're going to do it all the way around. Now, we're going to refer back to this picture a lot during this, so I'm not going to go over every single picture right now because we're going to move on. So new moon, just like you see in the picture, you really don't even see it. There's no reflected light from the sun is visible. It's all on the other side. It occurs directly after what we call a waning crescent and before a waxing crescent. So those are going to be our next phases. So we have our new moon here. Like we just talked about, there's a bracket here. This is what we see. We don't see any the side that's illuminated. So this is the first phase in our cycle. Now, we're going to go to waxing crescent. Now, the waxing crescent, less than half the moon is visible. So it's on the right side here. Now, waxing crescents happen not just one night. They happen over a couple nights. It could be something like this. It can be even a smaller sliver that's like anything where half the moon is visible on the right side that looks like a little crescent is going to be a waxing crescent. Now, the visible light always appears on the right side for waxing moons. So we're going to talk about waxing gibbous here in a second, and it's always on the right side. So waxing is going to be the right side, and the crescent means that it's less than half. Okay, it occurs directly after new moon, but before the first quarter. So we see here, we have our waxing crescent. So we talked about waxing means the right side. Crescent means that it's less than half. Okay. Moving on, first quarter. So first quarter means that exactly half the moon is illuminated, and it's always on the right side for the first quarter. The visible light appears on the right, like we just talked about, and it occurs between a waxing crescent, which we just talked about, and then where we're going to go next, a waxing gibbous. So you can see here, as we look up here, we can see that the right half is illuminated, so this is what we see from Earth. Now, a waxing gibbous, more than half of the moon is illuminated, so just like the crescent was less than half, a gibbous means more than half. So we have more than half of the moon is illuminated, and waxing means the light is on the right side. And this now is going to be occurring between the first quarter and the full moon. And just like the waxing crescent, this happens over a couple of nights. It could be just a little bit over top of the first quarter, or it could be just a very little sliver that we can't see. Either way, it's always going to be a waxing gibbous. Okay, so we look over here. So as we see from Earth, we see the majority of the right side of the moon, and then we can see it up here. Moving on, full moon. This is when you see 100% of the moon. Okay, so this marks the halfway point of our lunar cycle. The backside is where you see the getting no sunlight, and the sunlight that we see is we can see the entire moon. So, and again, this happens between the waxing gibbous and a waning gibbous, which we're going to go to now. So remember, waxing means that the light's on the right side. Gibbous means it's more than half. Okay, so here's our full moon, as we see from Earth, and we can see the whole moon tonight. Now, let's talk about a waning gibbous. So we talked about waxing gibbous, all the light was on the right side. A waning gibbous, all the light is going to be on the left side. So we can see here, gibbous still means more than half, so more than half is illuminated. So we have our gibbous. So we talked about more than half of the moon is visible. The light appears on the left side. This is going to be between the full moon and then what we call a third or a last quarter. So if we look down here, this is where we are now in our cycle. We can see that the light is on the left side, so that's why we are waning. And then it's more than half, so it's a gibbous. Our third quarter. So half the moon is visible from Earth, so just like the first quarter, half was visible. But this time, it's on the left side for a third quarter. And it occurs between a waning gibbous and then a waning crescent. So if we look down here, the light's on the left side and it's dark on the right side. Now this is where it gets confusing, because if we look at this moon here from above, it looks like the light should be on the right side and darkness on the left side. But because we're from Earth and we're looking down this way, you have to sort of tilt your head around, and then you can see, okay, the light is really on the left side of the moon and the darkness is on the right side, just like this picture here. Now, waning crescent. Now we talked about crescent means less than half the moon is visible from Earth. The waning means that the light's on the left side. And this is going to be between your third and last quarter and then going into your new moon. So we look in here, we're going to be up here looking down. So this is, we're going to see just a little bit on the left side being illuminated, and the rest on the right side we cannot see. Okay. Now those are the 8 cycles of the moon phases. Now, everything between third quarter and new moon, I mean, everything that occurs in here is always going to be a waning crescent. Everything that occurs between new moon and first quarter, that's going to be a waxing crescent. First quarter, full moon, that's always going to be a waning gibbous. And anything that occurs between a full moon and a third quarter is always going to be a waning gibbous. Okay? So in between the 4 major sort of stopping points here, we get a lot of the crescents and gibbuses in between that. So predicting the moon phases. So to go for about a quarter of the cycle or for 2 moon phases, it takes about 7 days or 1 week to occur. So if there was a new moon on December 7th, or sorry, December 10th, there would be your first quarter on December 17th. And then if you wanted to go from a first quarter to a new full moon, it's going to be probably around December 24th. Okay, so it's always about 7 days or 1 week later. So you can see here, it takes about 7 days to get from this point to here, and 7 days to here, and 7 days to here. So we've said it's a little bit less than that because we have our cycle about 27 days, but to get around you're getting about 7 days. So if you know, new moon, no light, waxing, remember, light's on the right side, crescent, less than half is illuminated. Then we have our first quarter where the right half is illuminated. Waxing, lights on the right side again, give us, but now we have more than half. Full moon, everything 100% is illuminated. Then we move to waning gibbous. Lights on the left side, gibbous means more than half. Third quarter, half the left side is illuminated. Waning again, light on the left. Crescent, less than half the light is illuminated. Moving on to new moon. Okay. So you can see here, this line represents the moon facing Earth. Okay. And the very interesting thing about the moon is it rotates and revolves at the exact same speed. So no matter what we see from Earth, we are always seeing the same side of the moon, no matter what. It's a very interesting thing. They call it the dark side of the moon, the opposite side of the moon, because we can't see it from Earth. We have to have a satellite, or we have to actually travel there to actually see the other side of the moon. Okay. Those are 5 checkpoint questions. Obviously, you can't discuss it with a partner, but if you have a parent or a sibling at home and you want to talk to them about it, feel free. Write a complete answer to each question in a notebook page. So this is going to happen in the Google form that you're going to see below. Okay, so everything that you do now is going to be in the form below. Okay, like I said, if you guys ever have any questions, please email me to clarify. All right, have a great day, guys.